to subsidy have all caused pain and hardship to Nigeria. As good as the intentions may have been, the perception is that they were not well thought through and were not well planned, and the implementation as well has not been well. You've seen subsidy, removal of petroleum subsidy, floating off the naira, the consequent inflation that it helped to push, and now the removal of subsidy in the electricity sector, even though they're trying to walk it back a little bit by saying it only affects a few people. Many people think the president's policies are not just people-oriented. Are you swayed by that argument?
Well, thank you, madam, for that question. I want to believe that you are also here, you follow the presidential campaigns closely. All the presidential candidates, one of the key platforms that the campaign on was on the issue of removal of subsidy. From the nooks and corners of Nigeria, Nigerians believe that it was just a fraud that was being operated by very few elites who benefited, and so it was unanimous.
But the president,
to all of them, everybody stood for removal of subsidy.
The president doesn't seem to have had any plans for the effects.
No. It's good. It comes with courage. Leadership is about courage. After the election, a leader must take the right decisions, and the right decision comes with courage. It comes with some decisions that will hurt us. It comes with decisions that will require changing the direction. And everybody believes that we need to take off fuel subsidy. And it took off from day one. And that resonated across the country, because very few people were benefiting from this demonic program called fuel subsidy. And of course, when you take the right decision, you are already operating. First, you're operating on a new area, so there are certain challenges that will come in that you do not know. Secondly, you also have the issues of opposition parties who are looking for everything wrong, because that is what their work is, their opposition. But the fact remains, and we must establish that fact, that all the presidential candidates agreed that fuel subsidy should go. And the President Asiwaju took the right step by day one, saying that all subsidy has gone. Also, don't forget that the subsidy was not included in the budget. It was supposed to exit in that same month. So it was very clear, unless we want to pretend to ourselves. The last government did not have a budget for subsidy that will continue. That is number one. Number two is that taking the right decision sometimes comes with pains. I mean, you can imagine a parent. You have little children. They probably would like to take sweet in the morning, in the night. They want to take Fanta. They want to watch cartoon all day. They enjoy it. The moment you introduce restriction, to them it's pain. But you are looking at the longer picture, the bigger picture. What is beneficial? You take too much Fanta, you end up with diarrhea. You watch too much cartoon, you are nothing at school. So those are steps that the president took. And don't forget that this is a man that is coming with experience. For the first time, he's coming with private sector understanding. And for the first time in Nigeria, we are having somebody who has gone to school as a graduate, being the president of Nigeria. So we are talking of a man that is all round, who has been in the political system, who has played opposition for so long, and who is also equipped for leadership. And that is why during the last speech, he said, look, don't pity me. I asked for this job, I'm going to do it. And it comes with courage. So I believe Nigerians are beginning to see the courageous steps being taken by this administration, because sometimes the right decision comes with pains. There's this saying, they say, no pain, no gain. And that is the trajectory of the Bola Asiwaju administration.
All right. Hold on, but Honorable Dati, the president made some promises after the subsidy removal, one of which was to provide some levels of palliative, including introducing CNG buses, helping people to convert their vehicles to CNG usage. Where's that? Secondly, you said there were no provisions, but we saw the president make some supplementary budgeting after takeover. Couldn't he have had a supplementary budget to at least systematically reduce the subsidy till it goes? And then finally, in as much as the president and everybody else who were contesting all said they would remove the subsidy. Wouldn't it have been better to clean up the subsidy process and allow the people that really need the subsidy to get it, and clean out the fraud that marred the implementation of the subsidy?
Well, if you talk about that, sometimes I like to recall the story in the Bible concerning the Israelites when they were being rescued. At a point, they told Moses, "Take us, we want to go back to Egypt." So that's what comes with leadership. When you take the direction, it comes with its gains, and people want to go back. We ain't going to go back. We are moving on as a country, because that is, you want to go back to giving a few people subsidy? You want
I'm
to go
talking
back
about
to
cleaning it up, clean up the subsidy.
Yeah, that is
the
what
fraud.
is being done now. There were benefits, immediate benefits that arose from the removal of subsidy, which is the increment in the allocation that was coming in. And by law, the improvement of revenue coming in has a law that decides that it must be distributed along the 3 tiers of government. The federal government has its percentage, about 52, the states about 32, the local governments have. And by law, those improvements were now eroded, according to law, to those areas. And it is because Asiwaju Tinubu is a true Democrat. He did not look for a way to begin to create an SPV like was done in other administration, where you find a way, maybe through the PTF and all that, and mop up that money. No, he released it to the different elected governments at different levels to be able to operate. Because in a democracy, it's not a one-man business. And that is why the states receive a quadruple increase in their allocation, and the local government. Now, the issue of trying to create a buffer does not rest with the president alone, because it's not only the beneficiaries are also the other government structures. So, and that is why you see a lot of efforts being made by different governments at different levels in the area of creating the stopgap, which is the palliatives, where we look at the long-term steps that will be taken to ameliorate the suffering of those in the lower cadre, but also remain focused on ensuring that Nigeria moves forward. And so far, we are beginning to see the benefits. And people are beginning to say, yes, this is the right way to go. You recall that we even have some cases up to now where the subsidy cartel, similar cases, EFCC recovered several. Now you don't hear such problems, because the money is not even there for anybody to steal. And those are some of the early low-hanging fruits of the benefits of subsidy removal, because there's no money being kept anywhere for anybody to find a way and use paper and say he has imported fuel, and meanwhile he has not, which was what happened in the past. Secondly, we are also beginning to see that people are holding government accountable, because every allocation is to the Office of the Accountant General publishes the allocations to every state and local government. People are seeing the improvement. Now people are asking questions, and just last week, the platforms are open for tracking performance. Now what we are saying is there is an improvement in the allocations to the federal, states, and local government. So what are we getting in return? What now puts on the table is citizen participation. You and I must ask questions. My local government chairman, what are you doing? My state governor, what are you doing? There has been an improvement. Now we're beginning to see states where some good governors are clearing up backlog of gratuities and pensions for their states. All that is possible because there has been an increase occasioned by the removal of subsidy. We are seeing improvement in infrastructure, in roads. We are seeing other states looking at areas of power generation. You've seen that in the east. We are seeing those looking at areas of water supply. We are seeing those looking at roads. So all these are opportunities that are being bettered by the removal of subsidy, which increase the internal earnings of the state. And I believe that as we begin to look at that, of course, we are not happy with also the pains of the moment, but the palliatives, even though which is for the short term, is also reaching out to ensure that we even out on the problems that arise or arose from the removal of subsidy.
All right, well, you're still listening to the People's Breakfast right here on People's 105.5 FM. We still have Honorable Yakubu Dati right here in the studio. Do well to call us up and be part of the conversation. All right, call us up on 0911 222 1055. That is 0911 222 1055. Honorable Doctor, I think what my colleague was trying to say is, yes, the subsidy is good. It has all the benefits that you have listed out and whatnot. But we're also saying the people are suffering, and the suffering is real. Now, if there are folks that are not feeling it, you have relatives, friends, extended family members that are feeling it, and they're on your neck. You're constantly receiving calls and messages, people telling you, oh, we've not eaten today, oh, I can't even go to work, The suffering is actually real. We're saying if a man wants to move into a house, maybe a house that was bought for something, the first thing he does is he renovates it, he makes it comfortable before he goes into the house. Not when you move in and then you start to put things in place. You have rats and mosquitoes and all of that biting you. That is what is happening to Nigeria now. Poverty is dealing with Nigerians. People cannot feed well. Transportation is a problem for people. So we're saying put things in place so that people, the policies and whatnot is for the people, right? Roads and everything, electricity increase and all of that. But if they cannot even have the basic of life, that is food, housing, and clothing, then it's a problem.
Well, thank you, Miriam. I like to use your beautiful analogy of renovating a house. Well, what the government is doing is no renovation, it's total reconstruction. If you talk to architects, they'll tell you when you renovate, you spend more money and there are more inconveniences than just starting anew. And when you're building a structure anew, it means that you can't live there when the construction is going on. So you go through some inconveniences, right? That's what we're going through. And that is why also I'm saying that in spite of what we are going through, we accept there are a lot of sufferings in the land, there are a lot of pains in the land.
But it seems that it's only the masses that are going through it.
No, what is the responsibility? Who has the responsibility to work on that? It's not only the federal government, it's also the state government and the local governments who are beneficiaries of the increment in allocation.
Right.
You understand? And all these things have clear responsibilities in the Constitution of Nigeria. The president, for instance, cannot go and build a classroom. He cannot go and do market. They are clearly defined in the Constitution as per responsibility of each arm of government. And so it is expected that when there is an inflow that surpasses, in fact, more than 300 or 400% increment in inflow, have gone to all these 3 tiers of government. So we need to begin to hold them accountable. And that is the beauty of this tracking system. We should begin to ask questions. If a state in the East has cleared up benefits of pensioners, if my state has not cleared, then I should be able to ask my governor, what are you doing? Because you are getting as much money.
How many people have access to the government?
And that is why the tracking system is there. And that is why we have a voice. And that is why we have television stations like what you people are doing. You're doing a great job. Because you're beginning to conscientize people to understand and interrogate. Now, the money that is going to these states, local government, they are our money. So what are you doing with our money? If we are going through this suffering because of the removal of subsidy, and then there is an incremental increase to monies that are going through those we elected in our different states, who should be called accountable? What are we doing as citizens? We are seeing what other governors are doing. In the East, we are seeing electricity that is coming up. People are enjoying 24 hours. What is my governor doing, for instance? We are seeing pensions being cleared. We are seeing roads being constructed. What is your elected representative doing? You have a responsibility to also ask questions, because these accruing benefits were spread over the 3 tiers of government. So the question should also be there. And that is why the responsibility of citizens should be more important now than ever before. Because these benefits are there, and they are supposed to convert those benefits to assuage the pains that people are going through. My sister, we are going through a lot of things, because whatever happens, you get phone calls, like you said, food, transport, school fees, it's all. But if other sectors, if the governors are rising up to the occasions, the local government chairmen who have been actually an appendage of state government, but the money is still going there. So the state governments are even receiving more money. What are they doing with the money? Why is it that every time at the end of every month, the forex goes up? Why are they buying the dollars? To take where? Now, these are questions we should begin to ask.
Right.
Because if they triple down this increment in money, the increment in its allocation to state is not for them to go and be buying dollars and creating a rise in the cost of dollar and investing it in Binance. No. You can see that the steps taken by the security agencies being coordinated by Malam Rune about the NSC, where Binance now is being interrogated, you can see the direct benefit. It means that the increment in those allocations were being funneled to these areas by people who are supposed to be representative of the people who are sensitive to the people. And that is why we are having this pains. So as Nigerians, we need to rise up and ask the right questions. You have increased. You started before. How much was the allocation of the state? 3-4 billion. Now you are getting 20 billion. What are you doing about it? Every month, every allocation is published by the Office of the Accountant General. So it's public knowledge. What are we doing about it? Are we asking our governors questions? Or we are sitting to blame the federal government for every problem that comes?
No, we're not blaming the federal government. What we're saying is very simple. Before you put in place,
it's like saying that
these policies,
you have a managing director here,
yes,
and I want to congratulate your radio station for hitting the ground running. Okay, you are a presenter, you have a director, you have studio.
Absolutely.
All right. The MD cannot come and play the role of your presenter.
We understand.
Everybody has a clear responsibility. So we must be able to hold people accountable.
Miriam is just saying something in other words. She just said, Ebimbawa. All right, let's move. Let's move on.
Yeah.
You are a player in the aviation sector. I say you are because despite the fact that you've left the office of the General Manager Communications at the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, you're still within the industry. You still play some role there. Give me your assessment of the current Minister for Aviation and Aeronautics Development, Festus Keyamo. How well has he done so far in the few months he's been in office? And then we witnessed Air Peace at the very end of April, making its maiden flight, end of March, sorry, making its maiden flight to the UK, signaling its entry into the bigger aviation markets of Europe. We understand America and other destinations are in the works. What do you also make of that? What are the prospects for aviation in Nigeria, especially in the Bola Tinubu era?
Thank you very much for that question. I like to say that aviation has never had it this good. And we have a minister who, even though his media survey, you discovered that he has been a bit quiet because he wants his work to speak for him. And we're beginning to see the early fruits of those work with the commencement of flight by Air Peace to the UK, which was almost impossible for almost 2 decades because the monopolies, were fighting it, but he was able to get it done without so much noise. Secondly, you notice that there was also a crash in the pricing.
Yeah.
As of this morning when I was on my way to the studio, I just got information from some people that other airlines, international airlines, are also crashing their prices because of competition. And so you begin to see the early benefits. And yesterday, the minister was on the rise, stating that Emirates will commence flight to Nigeria
very
soon, which is going to be in June. No, those are so you begin to see, and those are the tracking we're talking about. It's not about the talk. What outcomes are we seeing? We are seeing positive outcomes emanating from the aviation industry. We are seeing that local airlines are being strengthened to have better capacity. We are also seeing that government is playing its role as creating the enabling environment. You recall that there was the breaking of fast with the business community by the president, and the president similarly mentioned the performance of the aviation sector. So all these are good strides to know that things are being done to ensure that we move forward in that industry. Way forward is there's a lot more to be done. We believe that there's also a need for the minister to be bold enough to interrogate the mess that we were thrown into by the last administration under Hadisirika, where they brought up this Humpty Dumpty plane from
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about.
And then we are not even talking about
I was going to ask you about Air Nigeria.
Yeah.
By the time Festus Keyamo took over, it was just a few weeks before that, just at the dying hours of the Buhari administration. Yes, you mentioned the Humpty Dumpty. They brought a plane with Ethiopian airline registrations, but it was dubbed in the colors of Air Nigeria. And
I'm probably painted somewhere in Ikorodu.
that plane has gone back, and that's the end of that story. By the time Festus Keyamo became the minister, he mentioned the fact that a whole lot of things went wrong, and he has advised the government against the plans on ground about Air Nigeria. Like you rightly said, there should be a probe about the monies and energy and the other resources expended in the not so successful Air Nigeria project. Is that the end of Air Nigeria? Is it a vision you think that the minister and this administration should have about still building up a national carrier, a distinct national carrier that will have that Nigeria Air, Nigeria Airways, Nigeria, whatever name? Or should we strengthen private operators like Airpeace to actually step up and play the role of a national carrier for Nigeria?
Well, thank you. I like to say that most countries are moving away from the idea of national carrier because government cannot run business. Even the British Airways is owned by private individuals. So what we are advocating for is flag carriers, so that we have private interests that operate with our flag, so that they will be able to benefit from the BASA agreement, that's the Bilateral Air Services Agreement, because there's a doctrine of reciprocity. So if you fly in to my country, I should be able to fly out. But you cannot do that if you are not a flag carrier. So that is why the opportunities are there, and I know the minister is working on that. Because we have quite a number of airlines privately owned who are operating. So there's also options of trying to get these airlines to come together so that they will have the necessary muscle to be able to operate. Of course, that comes also with us agreeing to work together. We also have some airlines that have been recovered by the federal government, by AMCOM. You know, ARIC, Aero is on the threshold. So all these are opportunities to be able to say, look, you now belong to us. Why don't you come together, put together a team that will be able to operate profitably and be able to key into the BASA agreement. Now we are celebrating about Airpeace, and I want to commend Barrister Allen Oyema for that wonderful step. But we need more of that. And it's not just going to Lagos. We need London. Yeah. We need other airlines that should go to Dubai, they should go to China, that should go to other countries, and also benefit from the BASA agreement. We have several airlines flying in there. How many of our airlines are going? And that also has the trickling effect of reducing the pressure on the Naira. Because, tell you what, you saw the Airpeace flight, you saw the food that was served, Nigerian food. So that means anything emanating here.
And Nigerian Zobo.
And Nigerian Zobo.
And they were wearing Nishiago.
And you know, I couldn't forget, lovely one. And you know, I didn't also forget the fact that all the crew were Nigerians,
yes. So everybody.
So it's simple arithmetic. If the BA flies in, all their crew are British. They fly in and they give you chicken, what do you call it? Burger. when I want to eat that eba. When I want that eba in Airpeace, I wanted to go and fly so that I can eat.
Yeah. You know, for people like Miriam, they should add banga and starch and tomopa.
Yes.
With kunu.
Exactly. You know. So these are the opportunities that are open. Yeah. Number one, it projects our culture. Number two, it creates employment because these airlines are employing people indigenous. Number three is that the businesses. You can imagine most of these airlines, and we have about 20 that fly to Nigeria, they don't have a single kitchen in Nigeria. All the food
and the catering. Made from home.
So you can imagine now Airpeace, of course, now has a kitchen in Nigeria. Somebody is making money from preparing that food. So if you get other airlines to begin to tap into that, you are increasing the number of people in the unemployment market, And you now begin to have people, instead of contesting for the longest cooking hours in Guinness, you are now looking at how do I get in to cook for LPs? How do I get in to cook for this ARI or Aero? So those are opportunities that are available, and that is why the aviation sector is a key economic mover, because the rippling effects are down the line, all the way. And technicians will benefit. And I also want to say that we have to also look at the issue of the MRO, because most of the airlines also go out to service their aircraft. So if government can enable private sector to also build one, I know there's one in Akwa Ibom State, to build more, it now means that the aircrafts can be serviced here. Secondly, also, the government should also be an enabler, because in most economies, you don't pay for aircrafts. You just pay like you just wet lease, maybe 10%, 15%. Your aircraft is flying. But when it comes to Nigeria, the interest is high because of certain policies of government. So when you now reduce that, it makes it easier and cheaper for people to be able to acquire aircrafts and be able to run the business. So the effects are big, and I'm happy that SN Kenyamo is up to the task and is doing the work quietly but effectively, and we are seeing the results.
Okay, so you mentioned the fact that Emirates is to resume flight operations to Nigeria.
I quoted in the Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Minister, yes. And this is happening.
It's public knowledge, so
yes. This would happen around June. Does this also mean that the visa ban for Nigeria to the UAE will be lifted?
It's a whole package. You recall that part of the problems they had for withdrawing their flights was their trap funds.
Yes.
And under the CBN, it's been released. And I'm sure it's hitting their accounts. So those are part of their concerns, because a lot of their monies were being trapped here. So we're happy about that. But I'm not so excited about that either, because I want to believe that with their resumption, we should be able to have Epis or Aero or Arik also flying to Dubai. So that Miriam will be able to have that banker on a flight to Dubai.
Absolutely.
And we'll be able to have, that dress, Isiagu, or Ashoki, or Agbada,
anything.
All that is local, flavor.
And helps to promote Nigerian culture.
Exactly. So those are the things we are looking at. And to me, the fact that Emirates is coming in is not as exciting to me as the fact that it's an opportunity for our airlines to also key into Dubai routes and be able to fly there. And those are the opportunities that will ripple down to the caterer, to the food, to the garment industry, to airline engineers, technicians, hostesses. Employment will just flow. So you can imagine replicating what Airbus is doing on that route, and then another one is doing London, US, another one is doing Canada, another one is China. Look at the effect it will have in the economy. So we believe that the government has set the tax is very clear for Festus Keyamo and is right for the job.
All right, it's still the People's Breakfast Show right here on 105.5 People's FM. We'll take a short break right now, but don't forget that the studio lines are very open for you to call in, ask questions, okay? Make contributions. We still have Honorable Yakubu Dati right here in the studio. 09.
Welcome back. It's still the People's 105.5 FM and the People's Breakfast. My name is Maddox and I'm here with Miriam. We have our guest. He's Yakubu Dati, Honorable Yakubu Dati, a former commissioner for information in Plateau State, and he is also a former general manager communications of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. We've been talking about the wide range of national issues. We've delved into Plateau State politics, so let's return to Plateau State now. Let's talk about security in Plateau State. Security has been a major concern in Plateau. At a point in time, it seemed security challenges in Plateau had disappeared, but late last year and early this year, there seems to have been a resurgence. Otherwise, that's what's happening in Plateau State.
Well, I like to say that security challenge is nationwide to start with. Like I said, the previous administration had taken measures like the creation of the peace agency to be able to detect early signals for any breakdown for any infraction and take appropriate actions. I recall that Governor Lalong also was able to initiate what was called the Forgiveness Day for people to come together in the garden and communities, which worked effectively. There was also the National Religious Council, which was constituted committee to bring in religious leaders from all faiths to be able to interact more and also be able to reach out and preach the issue of peaceful belonging. And that's NAREC, which had membership like the Sultan of Sokoto, the chairman of the national president of CAN. And those organizations were effective. They also had a layer of the community or elders forum, where elders had an opportunity cutting across all communities to come together to discuss. We also had the ethnic forum, where the people of different ethnicity came together, and the issue of ensuring peace was paramount. So all these were cumulative efforts that were that came in to ensure the restoration of peace. Unfortunately, with the ambush done by PDP, who eventually took over the state, of course, the problem we have in Nigeria, all those strategies were all swept away, and that resulted in resurgence of violence. But most of the senior members or elders have decided that, look, we should not just allow the gains of the past to just go the way, and that's why stakeholders are coming together in their own different capacities to ensure that we reach out and continue with these laudable programs that were set in, and let people begin to see the benefits of living in peace, of ensuring that we stay together. I must also say at this point that most of these issues which border on ethnic and religious diversity are not properly managed, and I must blame the politicians at this point, because most times when the elections are approaching, those are our fault lines that are being used to weigh in support, to people that are living together. They'll tell you, no, this one, if he comes, he's not from here, that's ethnicity, or he's not our religion. And we forget that states like, the United States, for instance, Obama, his father is from Ghana, he became president of America. In Nigeria, if Millions wakes up and says she wants to be FCT senator, they will ask her, is this your state? Mm-hmm. No, so that the things that are holding us back as a country. And when you see the countries that are moving up, they don't look at those things. They look at what is the performance. What are you bringing to the table? Oftentimes, it's after the elections when the sufferings continue that people now realize that, no, it's not the issue of those things that are being used to divide us. It's about what are we doing. And in Plateau State, we know that Plateau will gradually take its place in the community of the states in terms of peaceful building, because the stakeholders are determined to ensure that the gains that were put in ground, the foundations, will still grow, because we still have quite a number of them who are still holding public positions.
All right. Now, there seems to be an uneasy balance in the political structure of the Plateau State. We had the election tribunals overturn all the PDP candidates in the governorship and state assembly elections, and by default, these parties that came second won those seats. APC got the governorship, and the assembly, APC also got most of them through the courts. But the appeal process for the state assembly ended at the Court of Appeal, where the ruling of the tribunal was maintained that PDP had no candidates. But the governorship stretched to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court restored the PDP candidate as the governor. And so we have a situation where the APC ordinarily should dominate the state assembly. Questions were asked, okay, the Supreme Court supersedes the Court of Appeal. Probably these people should honorably resign and let's rerun elections. They said it's not possible. A whole lot of things happened. And today, where is that balance in Plateau State? Do we have a governor who's of the PDP and a state House of Assembly which is of the APC? that are belligerent, or they've decided to bury their swords and work together. The political front in Plateau seems to be very quiet, but I know you are plugged in. What's the political balance there? What's the harmony, political harmony in the state like at the moment?
Well, Plateau State is going through a lot of challenges at the moment because by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, the governor has been still the governor of the state. Unfortunately, by the pronouncement of the appeal court, which is the last and only option, the members of the House of Assembly have still not been sworn in 4 months after the judgment. In fact, it was only just last week that there was an early morning before dawn. There was few members were sworn in, and about 7 still left not sworn in.
How many members are in the State Assembly?
There are 23 members in the State Assembly.
And only 9 have been sworn in?
Yeah, 8 of them got their elections. So during the first election, so they were still there.
Okay.
6 are APC,
Right.
and 1 is YPP. Right. The governor surreptitiously made the only APP member the speaker when they all left. So it took almost 4 months of battle here and there. And I mean, what interesting aspect is that the governor is also a lawyer.
Yeah.
So you begin to wonder, a lawyer who has been in this industry is now the one that is not following what the law says, after he also being a beneficiary.
And there's no court judgment stopping the inauguration of the entire assembly members. There's none?
There's none whatsoever. By the law of the elections, is the last bus stop in the National and State Assembly is the appeal court. The last bus stop for governorship and presidential is Supreme Court. It's like asking, did Peter Obi go to appeal the presidential election? No. Yeah. It's the last bus stop for electoral thing as in our law. So any action in aberration is a challenge to the judiciary and an affront to the judicial system. And so we believe that those are also some of the things that create problems. You know, the little political problems may blow up tomorrow. So that is why stakeholders are intervening to see how this will be resolved. We're also aware that the government is trying to give conditions that all those members must come back to PDP before they are sworn in. We hear stories of people being told to sign resignation letters even before they will be sworn in. So all that is creating a lot of unrest in the political system in the state. And our appeal is there is a need for the relevant security organizations to stand up to their responsibilities. You can imagine the state has been operating without a budget, and the governor is busy spending money because he has made the State Assembly comatose. The last time they sat was last year, until the last one where they admitted about 9 members. So you begin to see people operating as if they are the alpha and omega, and that comes to mind the issue of power in Africa. When you give the black man power, you're in problem. You are talking of a lawyer, you are talking of a man who also parades himself as a pastor, coming in, benefiting from what the judicial pronouncement, and denying the same court that gives judgment in favor of other people, simply because he's the governor. But we believe that this is a democracy, and the fact that we have a federal government means that we also have to be careful on how far we push, because for anything that goes wrong, they would like to put it back at what they usually refer to, which is the Muslim ticket, because they have nothing to campaign on. But the people are beginning to see the difference. So we want to appeal and call our national office, the APC, are also written to the state, to the governor, to take the right decisions. Stakeholders have intervened, but he has remained recalcitrant in ensuring that he takes the steps that affronts our judiciary and make a nonsense of the key structure of democracy. And that is his affront is challenging the judiciary. He's also making a non-existent of the legislature. So he's running like Idi Amin, the one-man government, where he is the legislator, he is the judiciary, he is the executive. And this does not offer well for our country.
All right, this is hoping that very soon we'll be seeing you also playing some role within the government, probably an appointed one or something.
I'd rather be here with my brothers in the media to explain and keep track of what is happening.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, we're right here for you anytime.
Thank you.
So we should also know that the federal government has approved Thursday, 11th of April 2024
So they've
as
added
an
one more
additional
day.
public holiday to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr. Yes. Okay. So we say Barka de Salah to our Muslim brothers and sisters around in the FCT and around the FCT.
All right. Thank you so much, Miriam, for that update, and thank you so much, Honorable Yakubu Datti, for your presence and your incisive analysis on the program this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I want to also congratulate the People's FM 105.5. I call on people to continue to tune in because I see a lot of things that will help us in this country. We see a radio station that is forefront, is bringing issues on the table that needs to be discussed. And I must also commend the combination of professionals I see here who I've seen over the years in different sectors coming together. So this is a pari passu of the media industry coming together, and I'm sure in another few days you'll be the main media house in the country. So I want to congratulate this station once again, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.
much.
Miriam, did you hear that? Pari passu. And on that pari passu note, we're signing off on the morning show this morning. Thank you for listening. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. bright and early, we'll be back. But up next is the midday, the 10 o'clock news update, and of course, the midday show will kick off right here on People's 105.5 FM. Abigail C. Woman.